Did you know over 60% of first-time clients do not return for a second visit? That is so painful, but it doesn't have to be that way. That's where Maya comes in. Maya is the ultimate marketing software for the beauty and wellness industry. We have a proprietary funnel utilizing special algorithms to help connect the right consumers with the right providers at your business. This means that Maya helps you get higher spending clients you love to work with who stay the long haul. If you want to increase your revenue, increase your client count, increase your average ticket, and increase your new client retention, then you need Maya. Go to joinmaya.com to set up your own personal virtual tour and see why over 500,000 consumers have trusted Maya and the businesses we work with to find their perfect beauty and wellness pro. We promise you will love Maya.
Thank you for joining me. This is Kati Whitledge with the Beyond the Technique podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the trends that we will take into the next year. There's no better person to talk about this than one of my favorite people in the industry, Daniel Mason Jones. If you know him, you love him, you know what it feels to be loved. He is a celebrated salon owner, educator, and motivational speaker whose creative leadership at his Atlanta-based salon has earned him a reputation as a beauty industry innovator. He translates his hands-on experience behind the chair and his success growing a 7-figure business into practical trainings on branding, social media, leadership, and client experience for other beauty professionals. He is approachable. He has a mission to elevate all of us in this industry. He wants us to view our craft as such as well. And he's so inspiring. So if you haven't had a chance to really get to know this wonderful man, today is your day. So without further ado, help me welcome Daniel Mason Jones. Welcome to
Thank
Beyond
you.
Technique.
Thank you, Kati. You're way too kind and generous. Thank you for the introduction.
My pleasure. We've been working to get you here for such a long time, and you're just so busy. You're traveling everywhere. You have done so much for this industry. I'm curious at the very beginning, like what got you into the industry to start?
That's kind of a fun conversation. So, I never in a million years would have thought that I would be in the beauty business. I remember going back to my high school reunion, and everyone knew that I was so passionate about my first career that I had from the time that I was in eighth grade. That's all that I talked about. I was always around it. And I got into that, and then, like many of us, had a change of mind, and it ended up putting me into the beauty industry. So, I was a funeral director and embalmer, and I did that for about 7 years, and before I decided to get over into the hair side of things. And the reality of that is, I live my life by humor. The reality of it was, people kept saying like, "You're so good at doing this. You should think about getting in the beauty business." And I met a lady that told me, she goes, "I think you should be a hairdresser with your personality." I actually laughed at her. I was like, "That sounds ridiculous. I don't think I want to do hair." And well, here I am 26 years later.
That's incredible. Did you then get into hair only? And how quickly did you go from being behind the chair doing services to then deciding, like, hey, I want to open a salon? What did that look like for you?
So as soon as I went behind the chair, I did not go to beauty school. I was a poor kid, so I couldn't afford beauty school. I did an apprenticeship here in Atlanta, and everything has always worked out for me. And I honestly think it does for everybody, but there's some of us that actually look for the signs around us, and some of us just kind of talk about it. I actually see signs all the time. And when I was young, I decided, this is kind of a crazy story, I was going to teach myself Spanish. There was no one around me anywhere that would possibly speak Spanish. We're from a small town. And I remember begging my mom for a Spanish dictionary. She bought it for me. And I would memorize one page a day of those Spanish words. And finally, there was an opportunity to take Spanish in school. So I learned how to speak Spanish. Well, here's the where the story's going. When I called the salon that was offering a free apprenticeship in the state of Georgia, and the owner actually happened to own the beauty school as well, it was only that I was hired because I could speak Spanish. So
Wow.
when the lady answered the phone, her Spanish accent was so thick, I was like, I don't even know what she's saying in English. So we immediately started speaking Spanish, and she goes, "You're hired." Not having any experience. And so I got into the salon. It was prom season, and I just remember like the feeling of what that was like. It was so happy there, and it felt inclusive. It felt like there was so much love inside the building, and quite a contrast from the funeral business. And I was like, you know what? I think I belong here. I love making people happy. I love feeling happy. I love joy, and so this was it. And once I got into the salon that Saturday, I was like, there's no question. This is what I'm born to do. And I trained for a few years, and then ultimately took my test. I failed it 3 times, let's be honest, and I finally got my license as a stylist, and it's been amazing. So well, you can ask me whatever you want to ask, but that's how I got started.
That is so wild. And what a cool kind of premonition to feel in your intuition that I need to learn Spanish. And then this
Mhm.
is the why behind it. And what a competitive advantage. And even in today's diverse and growing culture in America, like I think that I feel that. I think that's so cool and important that we are open to that, everybody. So that's really neat that you did that back when that wasn't like a normal thing. So that's really cool. So what just made you decide to open your own salon and really have that desire to almost like mentor and build up a team?
So it wasn't that we ever really wanted to open a salon per se. It was just that it was a forced situation. So I was working in a salon that was amazing. That's where I got my start. Incredible. And I was doing the landlord of the salon's hair. And he says, "What are you going to do when the salon closes?" And I was like, "What do you mean when the salon closes? This place is busy." He's like, "Remember, I'm the landlord. They did not renew their lease. They're closing." I was like, "No, they're not." So they did, surprise. So that was kind of wild. So I did jump ship right before it sank. And it was just what it was. I'm sure the owners made the decision that was best for them at that time. I hold no grudges with that, and I'm so grateful for my experience there. Um, and then my husband, he was working in a salon, and that salon was fine. It was ideal. There was just some conversations that were being had there around people that were like us, that were not very kind, and so it was kind of like our sign. Like, he's like, I don't really belong here if this is how people feel about people like us.
Mm.
And he's very non-confrontational and also very loving. So nothing was said. He just kind of, in that moment, it was like a silent quitting. And then we found a location, and we were like, you know what, we think we can do this. And we did. It was scary. It was super scary. But both of us had already been training young mentors in the salon. I started 3 months in my journey. Luckily, I was so busy with clientele 3 months in the game that I had to have an extra set of hands just to help me keep up. And we just naturally love helping people. And I think it's because both of us come from really humble beginnings, and we both have been incredibly blessed with success. And we wanted to give that around. We wanted to give that away. We understand that, like, in this life, nothing is truly ours. It's what we learn and what we give that matters. So we opened up Muse Salon and Spa 20 years ago, and that has been a crazy ride. I remember we signed the lease. We signed the lease for 1,500 square feet, and as soon as we pulled away from there, I told Jody, I said, "This is not going to work. We have to have 3,000 square feet." He's like, "I just want a little salon." I'm like, "Yeah, me too, but 1,500 is way too small." So we opened up, and then the recession hit 2007 to 2009. During that time, we lost 8 salons around us that were really incredible salons. What we found ourselves doing was having a price increase, and we actually doubled in size. So we went to 6,000 square feet.
Whoa.
Never missed a beat during that time. And then since then, we've purchased a 6,000 square foot building, built that out. We were so proud. The reason we left the other space was because there was no parking. I bought this other building because it has almost 100 parking spaces.
Wow.
Well, we got up to 81 employees. And so I was like, well, that's more than more than what we allotted for. So we opened up our second location last January. So we're almost coming up on 2 years. And we've got over 30 employees already at that location. And we're just so fortunate with everything that's happening inside of our salon. And it's for us, we just understand like our calling is more than hair, it's more than the salon. It truly is about giving back. I'm going to give everybody my favorite quote right now. If you know me, you know what I'm about to say. I joke in my classes, I'm like, if you get a tattoo, this is one you should get. It's a quote by Ram Dass, and it simply says, "We are all here walking each other home." And when you really take the time to think about what that means, it's going to mean something different for every one of us based on the journey that we're currently on. But at some point in time, you're going to need someone to walk you on the journey. And then there's going to be great times that we're able to walk others on their journey. And so that's what we're doing at Muse, and we're having so much fun. Not to say that it doesn't come without problems and headache and stress, because it's a business and it's operated by humans for humans. So, but we're having a good time either way.
Well, it's so inspiring and congratulations on your success. It's just a reflection of being such a servant leader and having just the desire to, like you said, build others up. And it has come with challenges. What do you feel has been the biggest challenges you and Jody have faced, like in the last couple of years as business owners?
Mm, Probably like, you get so attached to people and people leave. That's never easy, but it's not anything to be resentful over. It's just that's one of the hardest things. Now, I will say we are also very fortunate. I think the average, from what I understand, is to lose 10% of your business every year as far as employees. We do not have that. We operate somewhere between 3 and 4%. So that feels good. But when they go, no matter what it is, it's hard because we love these people. And I also can tell you at the same time, there's been people that have left us that have done incredible things. So that's fun to sit back and say, hey, you know what? We had a part in that. So that's exciting. Um, you know, I think if you can survive COVID as a salon owner with employees, you can survive anything. That was wild. And now, of course, we have inflation in the salon, but things are changing. And Katie, that's the thing that's exciting to me is like we're constantly having to reinvent ourselves. And I think when there's a quote that I share in some of my business classes that I teach is if you've ever heard someone say, "This is how we've always done things," that is the first nail in the coffin. You have to constantly be ready to evolve. And our salon now, I feel like at large, is highly operated by AI. And there's still an incredible human touch. Part of what you do is AI, and we are so grateful for that technology. But our business is changing, and it's just so fun to always see like where we're headed next. I can't wait to see what's going to happen in the next couple of years inside of the salon industry. But what I do know is we're seeing a massive surge of people that are leaving what were smaller salons or independent suites or studios, and they're coming back into the salons because they're craving community, they're craving education, they're craving benefits. I think a lot of the salons that are commission salons are starting to wake up and realize like how that had been for so long can't be any longer. And Jody and I are very proud that 20 years ago we had already started offering insurance, and we have paid time off, and we help pay for their associates or their assistants. We give them health insurance and flexible schedules, and we're flying them to Europe. We have people that have never been on an airplane, and we're sending like 8 to 10 of them at a time over to Europe for incredible classes and education. And so there's just a really beautiful thing happening in the industry, and I'm so happy to be in it.
Well, you just spoke about one of the trends that we're going to take into the next year, and that is this opportunity to be a magnet
Mhm.
for stylists who are craving to be back in that team environment.
Yeah.
So you really hit on offering education and benefits and just those opportunities that they otherwise even may not even know about because you're so
Yeah.
well connected. That's like a huge door. What other trends do you feel are really important for salon owners to keep an eye on that we will absolutely take into 2026?
I think we have to take a step back and take a deep breath and really understand that as we are blending what could potentially be in the next 3 years, 4 generations of people working in our salons, we have way more in common than not. So learning how to really navigate people, leadership classes are now they're critically important. And not just from inside of our industry. These are times that we need to be learning what's happening across the board in other businesses and industry. And so I think that's going to be big as people are coming back into the salons, having those conversations about like what it is like to be part of the community. I teach one or two classes every single weekend, and that's constantly what I'm hearing. It's not I've heard it 3 times this year. It's literally in every single class. And there's almost always a style. If I can tell you for the past few months, it has been nonstop every class where someone says, yes, I used to work by myself and I became so lonely. And what I realized too was I really never made over what would have been equivalent to 50% commission. And there was so much more work. And I'm not beating up on that industry. I'm just saying what I'm hearing. And it's interesting to see, and I see it in my own salon. So I think we're going to see some massive shifts happening over the next little bit. And at the end of the day, stylists or salon owners need to be equipped to have conversations around mental health. They need to be bringing in mental health advocates into their team meetings. They need to be checking in with their stylists, especially when it comes to Gen Z and then soon to be Gen Alpha. Communication isn't always the strong suit with our younger generation, and that is not their fault. They communicate digitally. So even if it's a digital check-in somehow, if you have emojis that you could send, if you send to your staff like, hey, how's everyone doing? They send you a thumbs up, or maybe it's a heart with the broken heart, whatever it might be, just to be able to tap into people. Because one of the other things, I'm not going to turn the podcast into a mental health conversation, but that's something I'm very, very involved with. I had studied psychology prior to coming into this industry, so it does have a large piece of my heart. And I wrote a program with another stylist out of England about 4 years ago, and L'Oreal's heading that up now. We partner with NAMI and the Calm app, and that's called Head
Oh,
Up. And Head Up has been instrumental in our industry to really start having those conversations. And I'm partnering with a lot of the beauty schools, and we're digging deep in those conversations prior to them even coming into the salon. So if you are a salon owner and you're listening to me right now, some of the feedback that I'm giving these kids before they go into salons to interview is number one, that they're interested in education. And I tell them the first thing to look for, if you go into a salon and they don't have mannequin heads, run out the door, because that means they do not have education. And then the second thing, don't ask them what are their thoughts on mental health. Ask them what systems are they implementing into current salon, like into their culture, to nurture that, to make sure that everyone in that staff is okay, and that we're okay with boundaries, learning how to set boundaries, having conversations with our guests, with our teammates. If I need a moment of silence, like let's respect that, or whatever that might be. So I think that's going to be really big, and it's going to become even bigger as we move forward.
oh, there's so much to unpack with this. I want to go back to you speaking about how important it is to even look for leadership training. And I love
Yeah.
that you're bringing that up because we're so focused on building up our stylists and their technical skills,
Hmm.
but looking at our operational team members and our leadership teams. And you mentioned that you keep an eye on businesses even outside of our industry.
All day
I'm
long.
curious, like who inspires you? Who do you really watch and keep an eye on for that?
So I don't have an in particular person. I could tell you companies that I admire. We had our first leadership retreat last year for salon owners. I think you need to be there for the next one. We're planning it for spring of 26.
Okay.
But I'm really big, like some of the leadership, the one leadership class that changed my life, like forever changed my life, was through Disney Institute. So
Great.
Disney isn't just cute little Mickey Mouse ears. They actually have incredible education. And I'm a big fan of Ritz-Carlton. Clearly, they've been doing things right for a long time. I've trained with them. I've trained with Apple. One of my dearest friends was the former president of AT&T, and T, and the information that I've been able to get from him through leadership and through retail has been unparalleled. I actually had him speak at our event last year, and the room went wild. They were like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even know this sort of thing was available." Um, so there's incredible people out there. And what I will say, Katie, is this: there's been so much bad information handed to our industry over the past 5 years after COVID. I think, and I say this with love, I think the people that their salons were struggling or they were struggling as a stylist, they were like, oh, I can become cool on TikTok or Instagram and start coaching hairstylists. And so, what I want to say to everybody always is make sure where you're getting your information from is accurate. There's a quote that says, salt and sugar, they look the same. You don't know the difference until you taste it. So, um, make sure the people that are teaching you how to run your salons are actually running a salon in today's world. People that are telling you how to build a clientele are actually building a clientele in today's economy. People that are telling you how to run a mentor program are actually having successful mentorships, because I see it every day. Almost every coach that I see on social media in our space, they're not doing what we do. They're just creating content. And for all that we know, that content could be coming from Chat GPT. I want real life experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want the people that are walking the walk and talking the talk.
I love that you brought that up. And when you do so many trainings, especially leadership, is that something that owners and listeners can book through you, or is that through a different platform?
Um, if they want me to come into a salon, I can absolutely do that. There's several ways to do that. I book through L'Oreal or Salon Centric, but I also, they're super cool companies. They let me work independent. Of course, I am my own brand anyway. And then the leadership retreat, that one is open to anybody that owns a salon. Is geared toward commission salons, because that's what I run. And my husband, he came from a rental background, so we have talked about doing something for that space, but in a very elevated luxury way. So it wouldn't just be for the run of the mill people, but our heart is in the commission salon because we understand what we're able to give our team. And we understand like what it really is about and how it works. We understand it. We do have the magic, which is kind of cool.
So here's something I want to like humble myself to bring up is that you brought up encouraging candidates to ask a salon, what are the ways that you nurture mental health and what are the systems around that? If somebody were to ask me, I'd be like, well, we have a book club and we've gone through emotional intelligence 2.0. Like,
Which is a
we
great
love each
book.
other and we check in and we try to meet people where they're at, right? Like, so
Yes.
I need to know, what are the possibilities. If somebody's listening, they're like, well, I want to have systems in place. I don't know what that means. What does that look like? Like, how do you put that into place?
So there's so many ways. Number one, I'm going to go back to NAMI because it's such an incredible resource and
Huge,
it's
by the way.
free.
You tell
Yeah.
people what NAMI means. I'm sure people have heard of Calm, so that's already
Yeah,
epic.
of course.
What is NAMI?
So NAMI is the National Alliance for Mental Illness, and it's a really beautiful organization. If you're looking for someone to donate to, I highly encourage that because a lot of the federal funding has been cut away from that recently. And as we all know, mental health is a serious, serious thing. All of us are affected by it at some point in time. Um, so it is so, so beautiful, this organization. You can actually find people from local NAMI chapters to come into your salons to help host retreats. They can help you with curriculum, that sort of thing, once you get involved. I could also help you with that. But it's really about creating conversation around, what that's like. If someone came to me and said, hey, I'm feeling this, whatever that might be. Because when we look at mental health exists on a complex continuum. So just imagine a scale of 0 to 10. And say this morning you woke up and you don't know how you feel. You just feel a little bit off. You don't feel sad, but you certainly don't feel happy. And you have to go into the salon and you have to lead people and you have to put on a smile. That's really hard. And your teammates might be feeling the same way, or maybe somebody's navigating grief, and grief doesn't just necessarily mean death. Grief is like when something leaves you, no matter what that is. So, how do we navigate that? How do we talk about those conversations? How do we create safe spaces for our team? It also is going to come down to, in our industry, the sad reality is 59%, numbers are showing that 59 to up to 59% of our industry have been sexually or physically abused. 73% of the women in our industry are single moms. So when we step back as humans and compassionate humans, because we are, and we just try to think like, these people are carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders every day. They're fighting silent battles and they're standing behind that chair And at 9 o'clock, their client comes in that was just engaged, and they're so happy, and they're trying to celebrate that moment. And at 9:30, someone comes in and tells you they just miscarried.
Mm.
And then at 10 o'clock, the next person comes in and says, "Oh my gosh, I just got all my scans back and I'm good. There's nothing, there's no evidence of disease and the cancer is gone." And you're back up on cloud nine. And then at 11 o'clock, someone comes in and tells you that they just lost their job and they don't know if they can afford to see you any longer. All while you are carrying your own burdens.
Mm.
So how do we navigate that? How do we make it so that we can shake that energy off? And there are ways to do it. A lot of people, maybe they exercise, or people they go to yoga and do meditation, or maybe it's something as simple. People pray, people do meditate. There's a million things that people can do that helps you on your own unique journey. But now is the time that we have these conversations. In our break rooms of the salons, they're notorious, especially as we're going into December, notorious for all the junk food. Our customers love us. They're bringing us in all the sweet treats. But if you have anxiety, mental illness, a lot of people have there's all sorts of neuro disorders that we might battle with. You have ADHD, we have people with, we have everything in our industry. So you start feeding your body junk food and you start to spiral. And then there's this other silent killer in our industry called addiction, the drugs and the alcohol. And, there's just so many things. So, I could spend 2 days talking to you about this topic. I'm so passionate about it, but just making it safe that people know that they can talk to you. There was just a salon owner that I was with in New York 3 weeks ago, and one of their young stylists, 23 years old, just ended their life. And there was mild symptoms, but not really deep symptoms. And so I always, if I'm teaching a mental health course, I always share the 5 things to look for. There's 5 obvious and there's five non-obvious things when someone is going to end their life. And some of the most obvious is they really reflect on the past. They start talking about things of the past. Maybe they even start to give things away. When they start giving, "Hey, I really want you to have this." That's one of the first things that you can tell that someone is really contemplating. It's not going to be the person that's talking about it normally. That person's really seeking some help. But the people that are silent, so just letting people know that you're safe. And I can't thank you enough for what you said in the beginning of the podcast. And I don't know how you said it. It was so beautiful. I'm not that crafty with words, but it was to the effect of like, if you know Daniel, you know that you're loved. And I always try to let people know that if you're in my space, you are loved, and it's genuine. I'm always going to pay you a compliment, and it doesn't have to be a pretty compliment. I don't care if you're pretty or not. It's that you're kind, or you have a kind soul, or you have really beautiful energy. But I'm always going to acknowledge that, because that one couple of words or that one sentence could really be the thing that someone's life jacket that day. That could save someone. So I encourage everyone to spread love. It's a lot easier to spread love than it is negativity.
Well, I see that you are a light and you bring light to wherever you are at. So I think it's awesome. I
Thank you.
appreciate the stats. I did not realize up to 59% of people have been either
Yeah.
sexually or physically abused. I would say mental abuse is probably an unknown stat that's even more prevalent as well.
Mhm.
Um, and then the single moms, just what, it's like we're called to this not for the money, right? It's for something greater. It's a
Yeah.
greater purpose. And so everybody that's in this industry is absolutely meant to be here for a reason. And I just love that you have made it your mission, and just you're relentless about spreading the word and helping empower people like myself, who I'm like, hey, I got a heart for this, but I have no idea where to start, or I don't even think about it, like there's so many other things. So thank you for putting this at the top of our minds. So we have these trends we're taking into next year, which is the boomerang effect of people coming back into our salons,
Mhm.
really focusing on mental health and leadership. Are there any other trends that you feel like we should keep an eye on, Daniel, that you think are going to be at the forefront of 2026?
Technology, baby. Always technology. We have to really embrace what is coming. I know people are like, "Oh, I'm scared of this and I'm scared of that." And I always go back to the story of the farmer, right? I'm sure the farmer was scared of all the tools and the tractors and all the appliances that became available, but the ones that bought the tractors had the largest farms ultimately. So we have to jump in and we have to embrace all the things that are given to us. And honestly, for me, I think it's a great tool to have all this technology when it comes to mental health, because when you think about some of the things that we had to spend countless hours doing before, whether it was inventory or management, like reputation management, all the things now that the AI will do with our platforms that we all have. And this is not a commercial for all the things that we have, but I certainly will answer any questions. If somebody wants to DM me, I'll tell you all my favorite things. But it's making our lives so much easier. And if I'm able to take that time back, if I can gain 10 hours a week back, that I can give that 10 hours to my team or to my local community or to give back to this community here, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not trying to sacrifice my time for other things. I want to do as many things as I can for others while I'm here. So technology is allowing me to do that, and it's really cool. It's really,
That is
really cool.
cool. I agree wholeheartedly with that. That we need to be just more sophisticated because the consumer won't be patient about it. Like even
No.
if we're patient as an industry with each other because we're used to being a little slower to the scene on things,
Yes, not
consumers are
anymore.
not going to put up with that long term. But whoever wins in that way is going to win the customer. So I'm really for that. You do teach like almost like all these weekends, you're doing something, but what do you do to shake off everything, get balance centered? What do you do to decompress and just have that time to unplug?
So gratitude is my secret weapon. In all honesty, it is. When I start feeling, because I'm human, when I start starting to feel any sort of way that I really don't like a lot of emotion, I shouldn't admit that out loud, but I don't. I like to be happy. I do get mad, not often, but I like to just be happy. Um, and so it's been hard. The past year, I've navigated grief, and I'm going into the holidays, and it's really hard. The past week has been exceptionally hard for me. So um, when I start to feel, I don't push those feelings away. I allow myself to feel what I'm feeling because it was a significant loss for me. I go back to gratitude, and I'm like, as my heart literally is breaking, I'll start thinking about like how amazing. Like I hate that I have to feel the pain, but we all will have to feel it at some point in time. But all those tears and the pain that I have felt and that I will feel is only because I was able to love so deeply. And so I give gratitude for having like the relationship that I had. And so that's really special. And then I like to walk. I love to go outside and walk. That's like my super thing. And I don't like to bring my technology with me. If I need to really unplug, the phone stays here at the house on the charger, and I just go for a walk. And I may want to go walking and talk to you on a social media video. But if I really need to unplug, nothing's coming with me. I need to connect with self. Getting back to nature for me is where I'm grounded, and I do love a good massage. Let's be honest.
And there's this, yeah, me too.
Yes.
Well, speaking of social media, for everybody listening or watching on our YouTube channel, this amazing conversation, I want you to know that in our notes, in our show notes, we have the links to check out Daniel Mason Jones's salon, Muse Salon. And I also included his Instagram. He has so many followers, and it's because he's this inspiring all the time. And it's clear that that's because you have a posture of gratitude. So, I appreciate you so much for being here. Before we're done, do you have any final words of wisdom or just encouragement for everybody listening today?
You know, oh gosh, I don't know. I never stop talking. So I would say, as we're going into the holiday season, it's a lot. I'm going to speak from a place of mental health. Just allow yourself to be. Allow yourself boundaries. If there's places that don't make your heart feel happy, no is a complete sentence. You don't need to explain why. Just really support yourself during that time. And then going into the new year, stay focused, stay hungry. And I know there's a lot of talk out there where people, we all need more money, we all need this. So just stay inspired enough that you can push yourself to learn new things, to gain new information, to get into new technologies, and see how far you can push yourself in this beauty industry because it's more than a haircut and it's certainly more than a color. We all are so lucky to do what we do, and I'm just lucky that in the lifetime, if you really think about the magnificence, Katie. Think right now, like of all the people that have ever lived on this big, beautiful world, like all the people that have ever existed, we are here doing this at the same time together with all of these new learnings, with all of these opportunities. It's really cool. So I think it's just perception and perspective of how you look at things. And I'm excited for 2026. I think it's going to be an incredible year. I don't say that it's going to be an easy year for a lot of things that are happening in the world, but what I do know is we have each other, we have community, and lean into that. Lean in as tight as you can, and we're going to have a good time together.
Ah, that's so awesome. I'm excited. And I just appreciate you taking time to be with me. Every time I'm around you, you just can't help but smile and feel great and feel hopeful. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate this, and I'm excited. Thanks for the opportunity.
Ah, my pleasure. Thank you all for joining us here week after week. If you appreciate this platform, please take a moment, leave us a 5-star review so that more people like yourself will discover Beyond the Technique, where we're here to change the way that you are supported in your business. Until next time, have an awesome day and stay strong.